Okay, welcome back to another episode of Third and 23. I'm your host, Alex, here to bring you another college football betting, pick, and prediction video. In this video, we're going to be talking Ole Miss versus Kentucky and Oklahoma State versus Oregon. This is part two of my week two college football bets. Let's go ahead and get into it and see if we can improve on that ATS record of an ugly 2-4. So we're kicking it off with Ole Miss visiting Kentucky. Ole Miss comes into this game as an 8.5-point favorite. When you look at this game, there's two factors in this game, right? We'll call it turnover and revenge. Turnover because both of these teams are turning over these teams, right? Turning over their roster. Ole Miss, 9 new offensive starters. Kentucky, 9 new defensive starters. So how are these new players, these new depth charts going to shake out? At Ole Miss, you talk quarterback, Austin Simmons. Is he the guy? Austin Simmons got a lot of hype last season off of one drive he had against Georgia when Jackson Dart went out. He looked good in the drive. I'm not going to take that away from him, but we're talking about one drive. Is he the guy? In the opener, they play against Georgia State, crushed them 63-7. He threw for 341, but he had 2 picks. As a team, they threw for 400. As a team, they ran for 295 because at running back, they got a running back named Keon Lacey who transfers in from Missouri. He goes for over 100. And they got Logan Diggs who redshirted last year. He provides another burst to that running game. So you say the running game, they lose Henry Parrish and Ulysses Bentley. If you watch college football and you've seen Logan Diggs play, Logan Diggs of Notre Dame and LSU, man, he's better than those guys anyway. So I think this is an upgrade. If Lacey can continue his pace of what he did this past weekend. So I think they got an upgrade at running back. So you got a pretty good backfield, at least in terms of running the football here, in my opinion. You look at Kentucky defensively. Kentucky had a lot of names last season. Had Walker up front. Had Derek Jackson and J.J. Weaver at linebacker. Had Malik Harrison at corner. They had a lot of guys who played a lot of football here. But they only were an average at best defense, really, if you look at it statistically. So they didn't really perform to the level that you expected of them. And now that all these guys are gone, so now what is Kentucky going to look like with all new players? Who's going to rush the passer, right? Where the edge rush is going to come from? You look at this team, they had 2 starters coming back. Alex Safari, 13 tackles in the opener, 2 tackles and a sack against Toledo. And J.Q. Hardaway had a pick. So both of them, they stepped up. They're picking up where they left off in their careers. But who else is going to run with them? And on top of that, they beat Toledo 24-16. That's a little bit dicey for my taste for an SEC team against a MAC school. Now we continue looking on. Let's look at the other side of the ball. Ole Miss's defense versus Kentucky's offense. Ole Miss last season, again, we're talking about turnover on this team. It's all new players, right? So defensively, Ole Miss was probably the best run defense in the country last year, but there's no more Walter Nolan and J.J. Pegues at D tackle, right? Some changes. But I still think they got a good front seven. They moved Sunnery Perkins to edge. They got Xavier Harris at D tackle, Cam Franklin, who played a lot last season, who I think can be a good player, and then T.J. Dottery returns at linebacker. So they got players in the front seven. I expect them to be kind of tough up front still. Maybe not as tough as last year, but not so much of a regression. But in the opener against Georgia State, they did give up 150 yards on the ground before, benches started clearing. So I don't really like that too much. But again, it's week 1. No preseason college football. We could chalk it up to that. They did only give up 4.7 yards to pass, and they got an all-new secondary, so that's something that they can hold on to. Kentucky offensively, man, it's looking dicey for that passing game. Last season, they couldn't throw the ball with Brock Vandagriff. They go into the portal this year, and they bring in Zach Calzada, a 7th-year senior. He was playing the last 2 years at Incarnate Word. Long time ago, he was at Texas A&M, and he engineered an upset of number 1 ranked Alabama when Jimbo Fisher was a coach for the Aggies. That's how long ago this was. That's what got him on the map. Come to find out, he can't really play like that, so he's been bouncing around, and now he's at Kentucky. But he comes to Kentucky, and the wide receiver room isn't what it was last season. Number 1 wideout, Dan Key, transferred. Number 2 wideout, Berrien Brown, transferred. This wide receiver room in this game against Toledo had caught 5 balls for 12 yards. That's not good. That's not good. Calzada, 3.7 yards per attempt in the opener. Also not good. So this Kentucky passing game was absolutely horrific in the opener. Can they bounce back in just 7 days against a much better team in Ole Miss? That's a big question to answer. So when I look at this game and I'm deciding, man, which way am I leaning? The game's in Kentucky. You got to remember there's a revenge factor. Lane Kiffin, this is the game that kept Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss out of the college football playoff last year. They lose to a terrible Kentucky team at home. If they win that game, I believe they're getting in. Even if they lose to Florida, I believe they're getting in over SMU. So there's a revenge factor at play here for Lane Kiffin. Maybe not so much for the players, some new guys, but for Kiffin, I think he's going to try to put one on them. In their passing game, they went and got Harrison Wallace, wide receiver 1 from Penn State. They went and got Dezon Strimbley, wide receiver 1 from Oklahoma State. So while they lost targets, they brought in targets. They got Caden Lee coming back. They got Daquan Wright back at tight end. Austin Simmons, I mean, we'll see with the turnovers, but he's putting up yards. He's going to move the ball in this up-tempo attack against a brand new Kentucky defense. And on the other side, Kentucky offense that can't pass the ball. That I don't know how well they're going to be able to move the ball in this one. 8.5. I'll go ahead and lay that. So go ahead and give me Ole Miss with the 8.5. I think there's a chance they put one on Kentucky in the Bluegrass State. All right, let's move on to the next game, which is going to be Oklahoma State visiting Oregon. This game opened at 27.5, and it's still 27.5, but now in some books, this is starting to creep up to 28, so just keep that in mind. We talk about this game, is one big thing for me is that Oklahoma State is horrible, right? Coming into the season, I thought they were going to be the worst team in the P4, or right there with Stanford as the worst teams in the P4, and I still feel that way. 11 new starters on offense, completely downgrades across the roster, downgrades at O-line, downgrades at running back. Quarterback Alan Bowman wasn't any good, but he was a 7th-year guy. Now they go with Shane Flores. He got his first action last week. He was splitting time with the other QB. Neither one of them did much. The other quarterback, I think, broke his foot, so now Zane Flores is the full-time guy. Running the ball, they're going with a Caleb Hicks, who I believe transferred from Oklahoma. As a team, they averaged 3 yards a carry in the opener against UT Martin. UT Martin, 3 yards a carry. They gave up 9 tackles for loss against UT Martin, against that front seven. And you're going against an Oregon front seven now that's elite. With Mateo and Tuitomi, the edge rush tandem that are going to collapse from the outside. They're going to crush this pocket. You got Barry Alexander who transfers in. He's going to eat things up on the inside. Bottiger at linebacker. This front seven is going to be elite. I think it's going to be elite by the end of the season, if not early in the season. And they were ranked 22nd last year. With a lot of the same faces, I think you're going to see these guys move up in those rankings. I think they're going to destroy this Oklahoma State running game. One question, though, is they do have a brand new secondary. They got a lot of young guys back there, a lot of freshmen and redshirt freshmen back there. So how do they stand up against this Oklahoma State passing attack, right? And then when we look at the other side, Oklahoma State's defense, they were one of the worst in the country last year at 129th. They bring in 10 new starters. So you say throw out last year, right? And they bring in a new defensive coordinator, Todd Grantham. The reason I mention it is because Oklahoma State actually had good players. Nick Martin and Colin Oliver. I mean, they had good players up front. They had experienced players up front. 129th didn't make any sense. Had to be the defensive scheme. Maybe some other factors behind that as well. All those guys are gone. You're going to downgrade because you didn't bring in dudes of those guys' level. And then you bring in Todd Grantham, who, he's been kind of ran out of town at a lot of different stops. Blitz-happy scheme, but he leaves a lot of things open on the back end if guys don't get home. I don't know if his scheme is going to fare well at Oklahoma State when they really don't have the talent to make up for some of his deficiencies, right? They did have 4 sacks in the opener, so good on them. And defensively, they only gave up 7 points, so hey, maybe there's something, right? But that's UT Martin. It's a whole different kind of animal. Dante Moore is now the quarterback for Oregon. It's his time after sitting out last year. Started his career at UCLA, 5-star freshman recruit. I didn't think he looked that bad until he started throwing pick sixes left and right. He comes here. He's been in this Will Stein offense now for a year. Got to say he knows the offense, but the receiver room. They lose Tez Johnson. He's going to the NFL. Evan Stewart is going to be one of the best receivers in the country. He messes up his knee in the offseason. I don't think he's going to play this year. So now what do you got on the outside? 5-star freshman DeCorian Moore? Maybe, but we got to see it first, right? You got Malik Benson. He transfers in from Florida State, but he's never really done it. You do got a great tight end in Kenyon Sadiq, though. So, but still, you got to navigate this wide receiver room. Who's going to step up and be that guy? They played against Montana State in the opener, 9.3 yards per attempt, but it's target practice against a team like Montana State, right? And then Mekhi Hughes. I thought it was a big deal getting Mekhi Hughes from Tulane. Thought he's a great running back, great portal pickup. A lot of people wanted him. He had 1 carry against Montana State. So is the running back room that good? I know Whittington is back, and these guys did run for 253, but I think Mekhi Hughes is too good to just leave him on the bench like that. So if this running back room is really that good, and you add Mekhi Hughes in there, this is going to be a pretty dangerous running game, as Oregon typically is every season. So now when I look at this game, who do I expect to win this one? Oops. Who do I expect to win this one? This is a mismatch. Or, wow, we know who's going to win it, but who's going to cover? This is a complete mismatch. Oregon is at home. They got an offense that might, I mean, if they're coming with full focus, they might never punt. Oregon can drop 60 or 70 in this game. So go ahead and give me the Ducks. I'm going to lay the 27.5. I'd lay more than 30, man. I think they're going to kill this team. Hopefully they come in focus with that intention, right? So anyways, that wraps it up. If you like the content, please like, comment, subscribe. If you agree, disagree, let me know in the comments, as you're going to see more football betting videos, and now NFL is coming up. So I didn't bet the first 2 games because I wanted to focus on college, but I will have some bets out there for NFL opening weekend. So look out for that. Take care.